CBS Orlando anchor Erik von Ancken has been covering the major hurricane as it made landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast in Sarasota. Erik was reporting live as the eye wall of the storm passed over him. Good morning. How was that? What was it like to actually be there as that eye of the storm came over the top of you?
Good morning, Stephanie. It was unnerving, to say the least, and I can tell you we're seeing something here on Florida's west coast now that we haven't seen in several days. It's the sun. And as the sun came up this morning, we saw something that we did not expect to see. So this is the park. It's called Bayfront Park, right on the Gulf Coast. The barrier islands are about a mile off from where I'm standing. And this is just two of the boats, a very large one. You can see the big yacht behind me that have landed here in this spot. Stephanie, you were asking what was it like to ride this out. So we haven't had a track like this, a hurricane track coming across Florida like this from west to east with this power in some 100 years. Typically, my photographer and I would go to the place where the storm is making landfall. That was Sarasota County. And it did, as you say, in fact, pass right over us. The beginning, the first half wasn't so bad. When the eye, Stephanie, was actually right over the spot, I mean, passing over this marina behind me, and this very spot, it got calm. We had about 45 minutes. I mean, the water was flat, the wind stopped, and then as soon as that eye roared through, we got the second half, and the storm surge came up. The big concern, Stephanie, was the storm surge from this storm, not just the wind, 120-mile-an-hour winds here, but potential storm surge as high as 15 feet, which, of course, put the lives of the people who live on the barrier islands here obviously in peril, as you would imagine. Fortunately, the storm surge only ended up being about 7 to 8 feet, which is still a lot. They're assessing damage and loss of life potentially on the barrier islands right now. But inland, Stephanie, this is what we got, what has turned into, I guess, right now a tourist attraction.
Yeah, huge amounts of force there with those storm surges. And you were right when you said it could have been so much worse. We've got reports of at least 5 dead, but hearing from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis that over 80,000 people were in shelters. Have you been able to speak to anybody that decided to actually brave it out as well, and what they were saying about their decision to face this once-in-a-century storm?
Stephanie, we have not talked to anyone on the barrier islands who decided to ride this thing out. We know that there were a lot of people in some of the high rises directly behind me who stayed in those buildings throughout the storm, which ended up being fine because, like I said, the storm surge didn't come up higher than the first story. And typically these new big buildings here on the Gulf front, the bay front, have parking garages on the first floor. So they ended up being fine. The generators kicked in. Most of the people on the barrier islands left. And the mayor of Tampa issued a dire warning. People are looking at it different ways, depending on how you feel. She said, if you stay in the barrier island as this storm comes in, she said, you will die. That was extreme. A lot of people kind of stepped back for a second. But her whole point, Stephanie, was to get people's attention to say, don't stay here, because a wall of water, if you're on that first floor out on the island, facing this massive, monstrous Category 3 coming at you with the Gulf of Mexico, the force of those waves. If you're in that first floor and you get 10 to 15 feet of water, it would be impossible to survive. Yeah. Besides that, you'd have nowhere to go. It's the force of the water slamming everything and potentially, knocking it down and doing damage to the other structures and any people who might be in those structures.
Yeah, okay. Well, Erik, thank you so much for your time. Obviously, the cleanup job is huge now, and all of the dangers with down power lines and things like that. So we really appreciate you just giving us a bit of a picture about what it's like there on the ground.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, we're going to be okay. It's going to take some time, but we're going to be okay.
Good to hear. Thank you.